Welcome to So That Reminds Me, Reminder Publishing's bi-weekly podcast discussing Western Mass news. I'm Chris Maza.
And I'm Tyler Garnet.
And we'll be your hosts for today's episode. How you doing today, Tyler?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for another episode. Definitely a few interesting topics we have to talk about with all the March Madness going on. I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, and it's also just nice to see you. I don't see you very much anymore. For those listening who aren't aware, Tyler used to work on my editorial team covering Ludlow and Belchertown, and now he's moved on to new coverage in Chicopee and South Hadley, and so I don't get to see your face as often. So it's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. I'm always excited to go to the old office and see some old friends. Going back to the episode, today we're talking about 5 of the most talked about topics in our communities. MGM Resorts reported exploration of the sale of MGM Springfield, another update on the fallout from alleged racist incidents in Southwick schools, a proposed boutique hotel in Agawam has residents concerned, the groundbreaking for the new WestCOMM Regional Dispatch Center in Chicopee, and the NCAA D1 Hockey Tournament comes to Springfield. We'll get things started with our first topic right after a couple brief messages.
Small businesses are the heartbeat of our communities. At the first annual Go Local Marketplace, over 20 local makers will bring what they do best to Powder Hollow Brewery for all to enjoy. From food trucks to live music and to craft workshop, Go Local Marketplace will be your place to shop small with friends and family. Enjoy handcrafted microbrews from Powder Hollow or a glass of wine from RD Winery, also located on site. Go Local Marketplace is happening on Saturday, May 18 from noon to 4 p.m. at Powder Hollow Brewery in Enfield, Connecticut. Parking and admission to the event are free. Bring your friends and family to Go Local Marketplace and enjoy the best of what our small business community has to offer.
Are you planning your second act? Working on your bucket list? Investing for early retirement? If you've hit that point in life where time will soon be yours, let Prime Magazine be your guide. We're all about staying healthy and fit, keeping up with tech, traveling, local entertainment, managing finances, caring for kids and elders, and much more. Pick up the latest copy of Prime Magazine every month. Prime, your best life now.
And we're back. We'll start off this week's discussion with the recent revelation that MGM Resorts International may be looking to sell its Springfield casino operations. Now, Bloomberg News reported last week that the company was having preliminary discussions on investigating the potential sale of MGM Springfield and its Northfield Park horse racing and casino in Ohio. Both are part of the company's regional domestic properties, while international and Las Vegas Strip properties posted moderate to record-breaking growth. The company's regional fourth quarter 2023 revenue for the regional operations was 14% lower than it was in the fourth quarter of 2022. Non-gambling revenues in the fourth quarter, such as food and hotel rooms, were also down roughly 5% from the prior year. MGM Springfield's performance, both in terms of revenue and promises kept, has been less desirable than expected. During a January 2023 visit to Springfield to address concerns about the company's adherence to the host community agreement with the city, MGM Resorts President and CEO Bill Hornbuckle told the press the casino may not have even been built at all if the company's projections had been more accurate. He also acknowledged the company had overall failed to maintain its promise of 3,000 jobs, stating that 2,000 was a more realistic goal.
In response to this report, I know Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno had talked with Hornbuckle, who agreed to meet with him soon to discuss the casino's future with the city. City Solicitor John Payne did not immediately respond to the request for comment regarding the host community agreement and how it might impact the process for any potential sale. Massachusetts Gaming Commission Communications Division Chief Thomas Mills referred specific question on Springfield's host community agreement with MGM Springfield to the city, but noted that the commission would have a role in the process if MGM attempted to sell, and the issue would be addressed publicly at a commission meeting. As part of its negotiated deal with Springfield, MGM contributes $25 million annually in addition to the $15 million upfront payment the city received. In addition, the company makes annual mitigation payments to Chicopee, East Longmeadow, Holyoke, Longmeadow, Ludlow, West Springfield, and Wilbraham as part of the surrounding community agreements.
Now, obviously, this is a project that, from The first time that they announced that they were looking at putting a casino in Springfield has just been a lightning rod for controversy and for disagreement. I recall, when this topic first came up, there was a lot of consternation about negative aspects a casino could bring. And there were people that had legitimate concerns about how much of an economic driver this would actually be for the city. And then on the other side, you had people who saw this as, the white knight for Springfield, coming into an area of the city, especially once they decided that MGM was going to be the preferred developer. Redeveloping an area of the city that was really depressed, had been hit by a tornado, and really needed some help. This has been something that people have gone back and forth on for a lot of years. And now I'm seeing a lot of people kind of, taking this report and saying, I told you so.
Yeah. Ever since I started working here within the last couple of years, it seems like there's always some sort of story, especially with the community host agreement and all the different stores. And kind of like you were talking about, a casino within itself is flashy. It sounds like it's going to drive a lot of money within the community. But there is only obviously a certain amount of people who like gambling and like the casino aspect. You have to also have that dynamic of having other shops and other places, restaurants for people to go and enjoy. So people looking at this casino, it might be all great and all, but as you said, people are starting to question how important it is to the city.
Well, I think that one thing that's important to remember here is nothing is happening immediately right now. This is a report that states that they are having conversations about that. And I think that some of the conversation that's happening is a bit premature in terms of, who's going to come in here next, et cetera. We don't have any idea as to what MGM is going to ultimately decide regarding this. Now, the thing that I really don't understand is the people who, truthfully, I'm a Springfield resident. I didn't vote for the casino. When it was there, I was hopeful that it would be successful. So I really don't understand the people who are crowing about what they're perceiving as the failure of the casino because the company is weighing its options. I don't understand how taking this as a sign that it is failing, how that is in any way beneficial for the city of Springfield. The way that I've always looked at the casino is even if it's here, it has to be a building block in a larger economic development plan and additional development that hasn't happened to the scale that I think needs to happen. So MGM Springfield was never going to be a savior, and people looking at it like it was were bound to be disappointed. And those who were against it are now taking this as a victory lap, and I just don't understand that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on those points too. It's people turn on the casino so quickly. But I think the important thing is, like you did say, this is just a report. We don't know if MGM Springfield will even want to sell, if they're exploring it. But I think the most important thing is that the Gaming Commission did note that they will address it publicly at a commission meeting if anything was to happen, so that there will be at least some public input and, just be more transparent about how things are going so far.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I wish that, and I'm sure that we're going to continue following the story and bringing you updates, but one thing that I really wish that we had a little bit more clarity on from the commission and from the city is what protections the city has in terms of the host community agreement. And I understand why the commission didn't want to speak to that, because that was something negotiated between the gaming company and the city. But also what the commission's role is in that and what regulatory powers they have. That was something that remained unclear in the comments from the Gaming Commission. So like I said, we're going to continue following this story and bring you any updates in our print editions as well as thereminder.com.
For our next story, Hampden County District Attorney Anthony Galuni announced March 14th that 6 8th grade students who attended Southwick Regional School are being charged with crimes for their roles in a mock slave auction involving fellow students conducted late on February 8th and into the morning of February 9th on the social media app Snapchat. The alleged criminals are aged 13 to 14. Galuni said because they are all minors, he cannot identify them or provide additional details, including their races. All 6 are charged with threatening to commit a crime. 2 are additionally charged with felony interference with civil rights. and one of those faces a third charge, witness interference. Galuni said if any of the students are found to be delinquent during the adjudication process, they could be committed to the Department of Youth Services. The students could also be sentenced to probation. Allison Lopez, the mother of one of the victims, applauded Galuni's decision to prosecute the 6 students and said she continued to be dissatisfied with the school's response. Lopez also said her daughter had been called the N-word by students at school. She said the problem is deeper than 1 or 2 incidents. It is evident that they have failed miserably in the past to adequately address and confront issues, allowing them to fester and culminate in the abhorrent behavior we have witnessed, Lopez said.
Yeah, in addition to that, Select Board member Jason Perrin sent a letter to the school superintendent Jennifer Willard and the school committee chair Robert Stevenson asking for the committee to seek member Desiree Maloney's resignation if her child was involved in the mock slave auction. During the committee meeting on March 5th, a parent of 2 students in the district said she knew that one of the school committee members at the meeting had a child who was involved in the incident. Members of the audience asked the speaker to point out who it was, but she declined. On March 14th, Greater Springfield NAACP President Talbert Swan II named Maloney as the official whose child was one of the students involved in the racial incident. When Stevenson was asked the next day if that was true, he said no. Maloney did not respond to Reminder Publishing's request for comment.
In response to the incident, the Southwick Select Board on March 11th agreed to have Perrone draft a comprehensive diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative policy for the town. Perrone will write a draft policy and bring it to the full Select Board, which will then debate how to proceed.
On March 14th, on top of everything else, Willard let Southwick regional school parents and guardians know that another racial incident had occurred. This time, racist language had been written on a bathroom wall. While Willard was not available to speak with Reminder Publishing, she wrote in the email to parents that the incident was under investigation and police had been notified. I don't know how much more we can say on this that hasn't already been said, other than it's good that at this point we're seeing progress in terms of some kind of justice in this situation. I know that there's not really any way to make the victims whole again. I'm not going to try to make any assumptions as to what the victims may be feeling. I am not going to try to compare anything because I don't have any of this lived experience. Mm-hmm. So my hope is that for them, there is some manner of closure, though I cannot even begin to relate to what they must be feeling and what the situation must have been like for them.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, especially, I think it's important to keep providing updates on this podcast because it's an unfortunate story that's happening, close to our communities. And like you said, it's good to see it almost have a little bit of a positive light at one point, to know that 6 criminals have been identified and that they will be dealt with. And I think, the reason that you had to kind of charge them was like what Allison Lopez said. This doesn't seem to be a 1 or 2 time incident. It's something that you really have to set a precedent for, that it's something that can't be allowed in Southwick. I know ever since the teenagers were identified that there was still another incident at the school. So you really hope that something changes.
Yeah, and I think that while there is a positive that there's some kind of movement forward, the positive is also a negative because you're talking about charging young people who have allegedly done something truly abhorrent, and so there's it's a negative aspect that you're trying to find a silver lining in, and really I think it's going to take a lot for the community to heal from this, and I really hope that the proper steps are taken to do that.
I agree. That's a great point.
Now, our coverage of this situation, of course, can be found at thereminder.com, and certainly we'll continue to provide updates both in our newspapers and on our website as they become available.
And we'll be back after a couple more short messages.
Since the founding of Reminder Publishing over 60 years ago, the Reminder has brought local businesses together with their customers, your neighbors and friends, through our advertising and coverage. Over the past 4 years, the Reminder has been adding to its reporting capabilities and expanding our readership, while other newspapers in the region, state, and country have scaled back or closed. We want local journalism to thrive and grow, and are asking readers and listeners to support and participate. The Reminder Press Club's mission is to ensure that local journalism is sustainable and leading healthy community discussions. The Reminder Press Club is a way for you to support the crucial work of professional reporters covering the vital stories in our community. Learn more about the Reminder Press Club or join at reminderpressclub.com.
Bring It Home magazine takes the best in the home renovation or home building business to your door. Featuring countless local businesses, Bring It Home helps Western Massachusetts and Connecticut homeowners, both new and seasoned, find the best of the best to suit their home's needs. The magazine is host to articles on local businesses explaining the latest trends, from outdoor necessities to indoor design. For advertising information or to view Bring It Home online, go to thereminder.com.
And we're back once again. For our next story, residents are concerned that a boutique hotel proposed for Main Street in Agawam could become a shelter for migrants or homeless persons. At a March 21st planning board hearing, at which the developers of the hotel were seeking a zoning change described as a housekeeping item, residents used the hearing as an opportunity to have their voice heard in opposition of the project. Resident David Krebs was among the dissenters who told the board the state would use the hotel as an emergency shelter for homeless and migrant persons, creating a situation over which Agawam would have no control, and it would also create risks for public schools and public health. Feeding Hills resident Alice Dinamasi asked for a legally binding agreement requiring the hotel to cater exclusively to travelers, stating concerns over an overflow of homeless. She also raised concerns about increased traffic resulting from the hotel.
Representatives of the developers have rebutted claims that the hotel would serve homeless people and migrants, stressing this establishment would cater to travelers paying market price. Rob Levesque of R. Levesque Associates, who is working with Shield Hotels LCC on the development of the Opal Inn and Suites, explained as a boutique-style hotel, it would be smaller than the standard-size hotel with only 3 floors and 40 rooms. Kenny Patel of Shield Hotels added that he didn't want to ban migrants or homeless people from staying at the Opal Inn and Suites, but the target demographic would be tourists and business people. On average, rooms will cost around $172 to $200 a night. The hotel site is beside the Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemetery and is less than a mile north of Six Flags New England. It currently houses the Patron Mexican restaurant. The hotel will be built southeast of the restaurant, and a new parking lot will be built for it. Shield Hotels properties include a number of hotels in the Pioneer Valley, such as the Courtyard by Marriott in West Springfield, the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Holyoke, the Hampton Inn in Westfield, and the Quality Inn and Suites in Northampton.
Now, obviously, the migrant crisis and the homeless crisis that we have in this state and really taking place nationwide is a hot-button topic for people, and it seems any time that discussion of hotels comes up, it seems to be a red flag for people. This kind of feels like this was a situation that devolved from a conversation about rezoning a part of the property to make it easier to build the hotel and turned into this unrelated argument about the status of migrant communities possibly living in the town of Agawam.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes all it takes is you give people an inch, or like you said, you give people a public hearing and they can voice their opinions. And like you said, with recent things going on in the news about the migrant crisis in different communities, different towns, different cities, people want to just voice their concerns and make sure that, you know, this doesn't happen with this hotel that is to be built.
Yeah, but I think the thing that we have to remember is that this is a planning board meeting. There are certain things that, you know, as long as it meets requirements, there's not a lot that the planning board is going to do to prevent these kinds of things. I'm not even sure if something like, you know, the legally binding agreement, you know, is something that would possibly be something that could be done. I think that there's a lot of just general fear that prevents people from really thinking clearly. I understand that there are some concerns about increases of, especially for migrant families that have children. Those are children who are going to have to be educated, and so it not only impacts the size of the classes, but also, you know, if there are additional services that are needed that cost additional money. I understand that there are these concerns, but I feel so often that these are things that are kind of thrown out there as, well, here's my somewhat legitimate concern for my not in my backyard argument. Mm-hmm. But we're getting away from the actual topic here, which was, they're just trying to build a hotel, and it seems like it's something that they're pointing at a more upscale kind of experience. It almost feels like from the description of this, it almost feels more like an extra large bed and breakfast than than your standard hotel.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like a smaller size standard hotel, like you said, only 3 floors, 40 rooms. Kind of like you said, the planning board only is there to approve if site plan requirements are there, zoning requirements, everything is in order, then they approve it. Everything that is talked about past that is kind of out of their control. So, I mean, like you said, a lot of these residents have a fear, and that's kind of why they started talking about this. I mean, this story on the podcast between you and me was just to talk about a new hotel being built, and even you and me have kind of deviated away from the things. So you can see how residents are concerned about it and want to voice it. But I think once the site plan gets approved, and if the hotel does get built or when it gets built, that's when concerns past that I think can be voiced and can be a legit concern.
Well, and the thing that I think, if I'm understanding what's happening here correctly, is whether or not this zoning change is approved.
Yes.
The hotel is being built. This is something that is being done simply to make it easier to be built and to work around an oddity in the zoning. So we're not even talking about whether or not they're going to approve this to be built. It seems like it's going to be built, and they are just trying to work around some complications with the zoning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a good point. So, yeah, I mean, once they get around the complications with the zoning, which is usually a quicker meeting and a quicker change depending everything in place. But, sometimes it takes a couple people to catch wind of the agenda and have their concerns. And, legitimate concerns could be said, but, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, it's just in a lot of cases seems like a case of you're barking up the wrong tree here.
Moving on, elected officials and the first responders were among those who gathered for the recent groundbreaking ceremony of our new Regional Emergency Communication Center to be built at the old Salter College site at 645 Shawinigan Drive. Officials said the new WestCOMM Regional Dispatch facility will enhance and revolutionize the emergency response capabilities for the towns and cities it currently serves and allow more room for other communities to join. The new center is scheduled to be completed in May 2025. WestCOMM Regional Dispatch currently provides emergency communication services for Chicopee, Longmeadow, Munson, East Longmeadow, Ware, and the Hampden County Sheriff's Department.
Now, this new WestCOMM will feature advanced equipment and systems designed to streamline communication processes and improve response times during critical situations. The current Regional Dispatch Center, located at the Chicopee Police Headquarters, can accommodate 9 dispatchers, but this new building will be able to accommodate 27. Additionally, the facility is said to provide ample space for training and collaboration, and the project was made possible through funding from the state 911 department.
Now, one thing that I did leave out from the beginning, that elected officials and first responders were among those who gathered. Others were me, who was at the groundbreaking event, and definitely there was close to 100 people, because this is a site that has been talked about for a few years now. There's been some rumors, and it's finally to have a groundbreaking event. You could see just the excitement from WestCOMM's executive director. Chicopee Mayor had some words to say, and everyone was just excited and thrilled to finally have a plan in place and be able to break ground on the new facility. I was able to take a little bit of a tour of the inside, see some designs for the project, and it's definitely something that I think will be exciting for WestCOMM.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's really interesting about this is a lot of these towns that are taking part in this are smaller towns with limited resources. So this seems to be a really intelligent way to kind of pool resources and create a system that is going to be beneficial to all. We've seen towns do things with similar regional districts, especially with regard to their health departments and things like that. So it's nice to see this taking this next step. I remember when I was a lowly reporter, no offense, more self-deprecating than anything, covering Longmeadow and to a lesser extent when East Longmeadow was talking about this, there were some concerns about, well, we're going to lose our hometown feel, and we have a dispatcher here who knows exactly where this street is, so it's one of those things where now that they're able to expand this, you're probably going to have greater capabilities for more people to be readily available to respond to things, as opposed to now where they've had some growing pains now and then with response times.
Exactly, and that was a lot of the speakers that day. That was the message they were sending. I know Chicopee Mayor John View was inviting other communities to join once this gets up and running. Right now the current dispatch center can accommodate 9 dispatch units. This new one will be able to accommodate 27. So, once that's all set and completed, but not even just the room for new dispatch centers, or dispatchers rather, but they also will have a couple training rooms included in there. And the biggest takeaway that people were saying is to kind of almost cut out the middleman, that there'll be a quicker response time, and to have less dispatchers in a sense. You'll have more people out on the field being able to assist with calls and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I think that obviously it's something that could prove very beneficial to towns, but we are still seeing a little bit of skepticism, and I wonder if this new facility will help with that. I know that I believe you were covering Ludlow at the time when Ludlow was having some discussions about whether or not they were going to join as well, and they were very hesitant to do it, and I believe they kind of put an end to the conversation, if I recall.
Yes, I remember when it was months ago, so I don't know if there's been an update since, but I know then they had both of the chiefs and a couple other of the members from the current dispatch center in Ludlow speak out against joining WestCOMM. So it will be interesting to see how other communities respond when this center's completed.
No, and that's not to say that one is better than the other.
Yes.
You could have situations where you find that what you have set up works perfectly for you, and why change it? I also know that Ludlow, as the example we've just been using, recently just did a bunch of upgrades to their system in the first place.
Yes.
So they made these capital investments in the first place. So how all that factors into decisions that people make on this. But it's nice that there's an option. If you're looking at a community that has limited resources, especially, and is trying to figure out how to maximize its efficiency and its effectiveness, this may be something that works for them. So I think that it's great to see. I also I've watched that property for a long time. I remember when it was the Gold Club, which was an adult entertainment facility for a short period of time. Before it was Salter College, which ended up being, I don't recall the exact specifics of what happened there, but that institution as a whole no longer exists because of its practices. So this building has been there, and this has been there for a while, waiting for something worthwhile to call it home. So it's nice to see that something is actually going to go in there that's going to have a positive impact on the community. And finally, after a long wait, the Division I Hockey Tournament for the NCAA has come to Springfield. This week, the Mass Mutual Center is playing host to the Northeast Regional of the 16-team tournament, with UMass and American International College serving as co-hosts. The winner of the regional will move on to play in the Frozen Four in St. Paul, Minnesota, with a shot at the national championship. This marks the first time Springfield has played host to the D1 Hockey Regionals since the NCAA moved to the current 16-team, 4-region format in 2003. Now, before 2003, regional games were played at venues on college campuses, but with the change in the format, the NCAA has primarily used off-campus neutral sites to reduce home ice advantages and to give the sport more exposure to some more non-traditional fans and areas. The Northeast cities that have hosted regionals in the past include Worcester, Providence, Rhode Island, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Manchester, New Hampshire. UMass previously hosted the regional at the Mullins Center in 2005. The Mass Mutual Center has been the site for other collegiate tournaments, including the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference Tournament from 2012 to 2014, and the Men's Division II Basketball Championship several times, most recently from 2006 to 2011.
In addition to the entertainment value, the regional is considered a potential boom to the area's hospitality industry, with thousands of additional visitors staying in area hotels and visiting local dining and pouring establishments. Final attendance figures could be strong, given that a strong field of teams were seated in Springfield, including UMass and two others from the Northeast, Cornell and Maine. Denver was selected as the top seed in the bracket. Both UMass and Denver were recently national champions, with Denver winning the title in 2022 and UMass earning the crown a year earlier.
Now, Reminder Publishing will surely have photos from this week's action coming in upcoming editions. And I have to say, I'm going to take you on a history tour through my mind.
Please do.
And it's a scary place to be, but I think it was back in 2012, maybe 2011. I wrote an opinion piece imploring officials in Springfield and the area to go after this, to go after a hockey regional. And so for me, it's very exciting to finally see this come to fruition. I feel that it's been a long time coming, that Springfield has a prime venue for this in the Mass Mutual Center. And right now, especially with some of the dining establishments and the other attractions that are in the area, it's really a great place to host something like this. For me, I'm a college hockey fan. My wife is a college hockey fan. She went to Boston College for 4 years and saw national championships. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we've talked a lot about over the past year or so since they had first announced that it was going to happen. It may have been 2 years ago that they announced that it was going to happen. Anyway, so for me personally, this is something that I've been very excited about, and I really see this as a major Division I tournament, something that can really, really draw for the area.
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer, really, for the area or any area that is ever a host for this tournament. I mean, you see what's going on with the men's and women's March Madness basketball bracket right now in college. Obviously, that has more of a social buzz because everyone makes their brackets for that, and their brackets and winners get busted after day one. But it's so popular for everyone, even if you don't watch sports. Because come March, there's a tournament and there's teams you can root for. And if it's in an area close to you, you might not even know anything about the team, but you want to go view a hockey game. I'm a little biased. I think watching hockey live is the best sport to watch live. There's just so much exciting moments between the hits, the saves, the shots, the goals. And, with all these just March Madness games, I'll call it for this bracket as well. But you never know. You can never count a team out. Pucks bounce a weird way. Games could go to overtime. Any team could win. So I think that's what makes it even more exciting, that it's a tournament-style bracket, one and done, and it will, bring in a lot of people to watch besides just the families themselves.
I'm actually really glad that you brought up anything can happen and anyone can win. There was a brief period of time between my stints with Reminder Publishing when I was working at AIC, American International College, and it was during their NCAA run, and they qualified as a 16 seed. They went on the road and beat the number 1 seed, and it was just such an amazing moment for the school. The area was very excited about it. Truthfully, I think sometimes people forget that there are 2 Division I programs that are in our area, UMass and AIC. But that's to your point, that something like that happened very recently. And on top of that, you mentioned bringing people in. UMass is seated in this bracket, which is an automatic great draw for the city, and I think that they also really lucked out with some of these other teams being from the Northeast. Very easy travel, and Denver is. I don't know if any team has won the national championship more often than Denver. So I mean, that's a team that has clout, has a background, and in terms of the quality of the play, you've seen guys locally. Frank Vetrano, who I cannot remember who he's playing for now. I think Anaheim.
Yep.
He's from East Long Meadow. He went to Boston College and then UMass. Cale Makar, went to UMass. So you've got these great talents that are also a draw. And I think at the end of the day, when they look at the numbers, the economic impact that this is going to have for the city, I think it's going to be really strong.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you brought up with Vetrano and Makar too. Like, that's just another reason for you to go see these games, because you never know what future NHL star you're going to see at these games. And regardless of that, you're going to see some exciting action, because they're going to give it their all, because they know this is their Game 7 and they have a crowd in front of them to do it in front of. So I'm really looking forward to watching this on TV, and maybe I'll even catch a game in person.
Now, of course, we have to remember that we're recording this on Wednesday. The first round of games are on Thursday. So, but there is ticket sales for the regional final, which is going to take place on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And as of today, there were still tickets on sale for that. From what I've seen, ticket sales are strong, which are leading me to believe what I've said about, overall, once this weekend is over and they start crunching the data, that this is going to show well for Springfield. I've mentioned that I've been imploring the city and whoever the officials are that put the bid in for this to do it for a long time. I'll readily admit, I don't know. They could have been trying for a while. This is a bid process. Mm-hmm. You do, put in a bid with the NCAA to get this tournament in your area. So I don't know if they've done that in the past and the NCAA has said no thank you, or it could be that with some of the positive things that have been happening in the city, this could be a reflection on where the city is in terms of its national reflection. If they're looking at Springfield now and seeing it as a beneficial location for a national tournament, then I'd say that speaks well overall for Springfield.
No, I think it definitely does too. So it should be interesting to see the tournament, and it should be interesting to see how it helps the surrounding area as soon as it's over.
Now, I could talk about this, for another 3 hours. So I'm just going to put this down and calm down a little bit. And I will say that this will wrap another edition of So That Reminds Me.
Thank you for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks to bring you another episode.
Thanks for listening to So That Reminds Me, produced by Western Massachusetts news source Reminder Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, find the latest news at thereminder.com, and follow Reminder Publishing on Instagram at Reminder Publishing, on X at The Reminder MA, and on Facebook. Reminder Publishing, we are hometown news.